Now we're on the top of Daf of Gimel and Beis. Below Asberlu Ape, for some strange reason, very unusual behavior, Abba Chilka did not give them a proper response. He didn't show them a nice, happy face and wish them shalom. Befanya, during the evening, when Abba Chilka came back, he returned to his house. He was taking small piles of wood and he was carrying them on his shoulders. I guess on the way back from the field, is Dorat Sive, he carried these trees, these logs, Umora, and the Ma'adir is the hoe that he used to dig, Bechad Kaf, on one shoulder, Uglime Bechad Kadf. And strangely enough, he threw his cloak over the other shoulder. A lot of strange behaviors. We'll soon figure it all out, but right now it's a little bit odd. For the entire trip back, his journey back on the same road that he came on, he would not tie his shoes. He was barefoot. He motala maya, when he got to a body of water, he put back his shoes and he passed over the water. When Abba Chilka got on the road to a place where there were thorns and thistles, he lifted up his clothes onto his shoulders so that they wouldn't get ripped by the thorns. And when he got to the city, his wife went back to receive him, and she was, as we would say in Yiddish, all put stuff. She was wearing all these tachshitim, jewelry. She looked so beautiful. When he came home, Alice the basic Bereshe, he let his wife go in first, ladies first. Then he went in. The Rabbanan followed him in. These two chachamim that were accompanying him. He sits down to eat a loaf of bread. He didn't invite the Rabbanon to share the bread with him. Then what did he do? Palig rifta lit yenuke. He gave out bread to his children. Again, he did not give each one of his children the same portion. Like Shisha Chada, he only gave one loaf of bread to his oldest son. Ulazutra Trey, but to his youngest son, his Ben Akatan, he gave two portions. After the Suda ended, Omalela the Besa, Abba Chilka turns to his wife and says, Yodana, the Rabbanon, I realize that the Rabbanon are coming to me, Mishum Mitra Kaasi, they want me to pray on their behalf to bring the rains. Nisak le'igru. Let's go up to the roof and hide from him. And there we will ask Hashem for Rahmanus. Nobody will know that it was us who prayed. And we'll ask for God to have compassion to bring down the rains. Efsha de Meratze, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Esei Mitra. It's possible that God will accept that prayers and bring down the rains. But no one will give us credit and be machzik tova as if our tefillos brought about the Geshamim. The Chacham won't know that it's the schus of our tefillos that the Geshamim are coming down. Sakula Igra. So Abba Chilka and his wife went up to the roof. Come iu bechadas avisa ve'i bechadas avisa. Abba Chilka stood and prayed in one corner of the Aliyah Sagad, while his wife stood on another corner, and they prayed for the rains. We find by Yitzchak Avinu that he was mispal l'nochach ishto. Rashi says, "Ze omi b'zav v'zu mispal, v'zu omedes b'zav v'zu mispalelis." Kadosh Baruch Hu responded to their prayers, and the sky started getting filled up with clouds. Kodim siluk anoni mihachzo bisul debese. And the clouds began first to go up on top of the corner where the Rebbitzin was davening. Hinachis. Now, Abba Chilkia goes down from the Aliyah Sagag. Omalahu. Abba Chilkia turns to these two Chachamim who came at Shluchim. Amai Asr Avon. Why did you come? Amruleh, they say, Shadri Laban, we were sent by the rabbis, Lagabi Damar, for our master, meaning they spoke in the third person. To request divine compassion that the rain should come down. Amalahu, Abba Chilkia responded, Baruch HaMakom Shelo Hitzrich Estem Li'Abba Chilkia. Thank God you don't need my prayers because the rains have begun to come down even before I would ask for the rains and pray for the rains. Omruleh, they said, we're not fooled. Yadi'inon, we understand, we know the Mitra Machmas Mar Dios, that these rains are coming as a result of the fact that you prayed in the Aliyah Sagah. Ella, but nevertheless, even though now we don't have to ask you for prayers, for rains, Lemelon Mar, Hani Mila Ditmielon. Can you possibly respond to something that has confused our minds? And they begin barraging Abba Chilkia with questions about his very strange behavior. My timer, why is it that Ki Avivna Lamar Shlomo, when we gave Shalom Aleichem to Mar, Lo Asbir Lon Mar Apin? You did not return peace, shalom, to us, and you didn't show us that nice face that you usually do. Amalahu, he says, when you came to give me peace, to give me shalom, schir yom avu, I was being paid as a day worker, in which my balasada demands, according to contract law, that every minute of the day I dedicate to his malach. Therefore, I came to the conclusion, Lois Pager, I'm not going to be mavatal myself from Malachti in order to give you shalom, even though shalom takes a few seconds less. Because on this man of Aniyah Shalom, I'm getting paid for the Balabais because of the malach that I'm doing. And therefore, if I were to respond to your shalom, I'd be stealing from the Balabais that time period. My time, when they continue to ask, Dora Martzivi, Echa Achad Katve, Glime Achad Katve. Why is it that when you carried the logs of wood on one shoulder and your cloak together with the logs, no, I'm sorry, and your cloak you threw over your other shoulder? Why didn't you just put down the eitzim on top of your glima, on top of your clothes, and that would have made it much easier to carry it. It's not my glima. I don't own this garment, and if I couldn't put it underneath the eitzim, the hachi shali, because I had borrowed this talis for the purpose of Levisha, not for any other purpose. I didn't borrow it for the purpose of carrying trees on top of the garment. And it's very possible that the kotzim, sheba eitzim, lekora, that if I would place the glima underneath the eitzim, it could be that the thorns and the little splinters of these logs of wood would possibly rip the garment. And I didn't get license, I didn't receive permission to borrow the talis for that purpose. My time of kulia orchalos sayamar sane. Why don't you wear your shoes the whole water? Look at mate lamayo. When you got to the water, sayamasane. Then you put on your shoes. Hamalahu. He explained this strange behavior. Kulia orcha chazena. Chazena means yevesha. So the road is dry. And therefore, when the road is dry, I can see exactly what's in front of me. Even if I'm not wearing shoes, I can be very careful and not bang into any stones or anything else. So therefore, I didn't want to root my shoes, and if I didn't have to wear my shoes, I wouldn't wear my shoes. When shoes get worn out by wear and tear, so I'm not going to do that. But Maya, when I get to the water, now it's a whole different story. Loka Chazina, I'm not capable of seeing what's inside the water, and maybe a fish will come by and bite me, or maybe even a serpent will go into the water. And therefore, I had to put on my shoes to protect my legs and my body. My time of kimota marle hizbi behigi the linul money. Why is that when you got to these storms, you lifted up your begotten and you weren't worried about your body getting scratched by these thorns? Omalahu abafilkia respond chacham zeh maila rucha v'zeh eino maila rucha. If my flesh will be ripped by the result of the thorns, then asid lisrapos, it will be healed. But a beged, once you rip it apart, then you probably won't be able to fix it up again. Therefore, I would rather protect the beged than protect my raglan. My time ki mota mar lemose nothing to basic to mar ki mekashta. Why did your wife come out all faputz with these tachshipim? A woman should always look attractive for her husband. Otherwise, maybe he'll look at another woman, which is amazing to say something like that about Abba Chilki. My timer, Ailul Hibaresha. Why did she go in first? Father Ailul Marabas. Why did you go in second? And then we, the two Talmidei Chacham, we went in last, and you're not supposed to walk behind a woman. You don't check me out. Bidukim, bidikus li, meaning bidukim li. You are not. You have not passed my evaluation, meaning I don't have any references to you, that you're ksherim or you're prutzim. So therefore, I didn't want my wife to go behind you because, you might be tempted to start up with her or something. It says here in the note, each though, Ye'orlo onis. Machos kein lo yuchal likonis labayis. Sein zu der chet sheyomer lehem sheyetzu ad sheyuchal likonis. Lo somach al ma sheyish bonim bebayis kemon sheyitochen she'enim bebayis posich. Anyway, he was trying to avoid any sort of a yichud situation that could possibly arise. My time kikarach ma rifta lo omar loch. Why didn't you invite us to bake bread with you? We have a very limited amount to supply of bread. And the truth is that even had I invited you, you wouldn't have eaten. You would have seen that there's not enough bread for our own family needs. But yet you would have owed me a debt of gratitude for my having invited you. That's called Gnevas Das, when you invite someone and you know for sure he's not going to take you up on the invitation, but you just want him to owe you a debt of gratitude. Amina, therefore I said to myself, let not the Chachamim feel that they owe me a favor when they don't really owe me a favor, because I knew very well that you wouldn't eat. Then they asked him, my time Yoav Marli Nuka Kshisha Adarifta Ulidzutra. Why did you give your oldest son one chelik, one portion, and to your youngest son 2 portions? After all, usually an older brother, an older adult, would eat more than a young child. So you responded, hi, this older son, Koiv Besa, he stays home the whole day. and he can eat during the course of the day. But Hai, this young child, Yosef B'Beit Knishta, he sits at the feet of his Malamed in the synagogue during the course of the day. He only comes home at nighttime in the evening, and he doesn't have a chance to eat during the course of the day, and therefore I gave him a larger portion of bread. My time according saluk anonim mehaisa bisa that is kind of the base. Why is it that the cloud came first over the corner where your wife was standing and praying, and only afterwards did the clouds gather together over the place where you were davening on the top of the roof? And Abba Chilki responds, a woman is usually at home during the course of the day. And if a poor person comes to ask for his dire needs, then immediately she gives them kedei mechyasa, whatever he needs, the ani to survive. She gives a pas to the aniyim, which is ready and prepared to be eaten. That's called hanasa krova umezumenes. Whereas vanoya vivizuza, I would have to give them the ani a coin. He's not going to be able to benefit from haniyasa, benefit from immediately. He's going to have to be toreach and buy something these mows, and therefore his spus is greater than my spus. And therefore, another reason why the Ananim didn't show up first on his side, but rather on her side, because Hanu Biryone Dahava Bishvivusa, there were some, tough guys. They were Burim and Ameoretz that lived in that neighborhood. Anabai Rachmi Dile Musa. I asked Hashem, Rachamim, that they should die. Boy Rachme Dilihadru Bitivusa. They should come back to the right path and do tshuva v'hadru, and indeed they as a result of her tefillos that she prayed, they did tshuva. So since she had rachmanis on the chotiv that they should die, and she was lavake trachamim on them, that they should be chosav b'tshuva mida kedeged mida mishamayim richumu al Yisrael after chotivim. And since the rachamim were b'schusa, therefore the anonim came first on her side. Hanan and Echba, now a certain grandson of Choni Amagel, his name was Hanan Echba, Bar Barte de Choni Amagel Hava. He was the daughter of the son of Choni. Ki mitztarech alma lemitra, when the world needed rains, then Avi Mishadri Abona Yenuka Lebei Rav Kabei. The Chacham would send a shliach, Tinoko Shel Beis Raman, young children, to soften his heart, and he would commensurate with their tsar, and then he will intensify his tefillos. V'nakti le b'shipule klime. And those children, the Tashvar children, would grab on to the corner of the cloak of Hanan, the Amrule, Abba, Abba, Havlon Mitra. Give us rains. And Hanan would hear their words, and then he would turn to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Omar lefanei, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rebbeinu Shalom, Masei b'shvil, Tinokos elu she'ein makirin, bein Abba de Yoav Mitra, li Abba de lo Yoav Mitra. They don't differentiate, these children, between the Abba who has the ability to give rains, meaning Abba, our Father in heaven, to Abba down in earth, in this case, Abba Chilkia, the Loyav Mitra. He doesn't have the power to bring Geshem. So they don't know to differentiate between Avinu Shabashamayim and myself. They think that I'm like Aviyah and I could be Moshiach. Amai Karile, why was he called Chana Nechba? When he would go into the toilet, he would hide himself with gadol. He would cover his lower body. That was his mid of tznius. Amalei Rabbi Zrikal or Rav Safra Tachazi, come and see Ma Beit Kifi the Arad Yisrael the Tzadikim who are powerful in Eretz Yisrael, Hasidei Bavel to the pious people at Tzadikim in Bavel. Hasidei the Bavel, which is Rav Huna and Rav Chizda Kiavi Mitzarech Alma Lemitra, when there was a need for rain. Amri, they said one to the other, Nikanif Adodi Viniboy Rach, let's gather together the people, and in that assemblage we will be Mavaki Trap. After the Meratze, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to late the Yesei Mitra. And it's possible that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be Meratza us, will accept our truths, and the rains will fall down. And they put the emphasis on gathering together the people. They weren't going to pray privately. However, in contrast, Kifei Diara Yisrael, the mighty tzaddikim in Eretz Yisrael could go Rabbi Yonah Avua to Rabbi Mani, Ki Avi Mitztarech, Alma Lemitra, when there was a need for rain, Avi Ozel basically would go home and pray privately. Omer Lahu, he would tell his household, Havuli Gualki, give me sakim, baskets or receptacles, the azel, the isili, bezuza ibura. And I'm going to buy grains, a small amount of grains, the amount that a zuz would bring in, which, again, a zuz is a serious amount of money, but there was inflation because of the drought. And the reason why he did this is he didn't want them to know that he's going to be Mispal Al-Kshavim. So Ki Avinofik Lebra, when he went outside, Azil V'Kai B'Dufta Mikta, he would find a deep place, and there he would pray the Tziv, as the Apostle says, Mimamakim, from a deep place, Karasicha Hashem, I call out to you, V'Kai B'Dufta Tzniya, and he was in a place where no one could see him, Machasi V'Saka, and he would take that sock that his family members had brought him, and Boy Rachman, he would cover over his body with the sock, and he would ask Baruch Hu for Racham. His prayers were accepted. The Asi Mitra, it began to rain. Kiavi Asi Lebese, when he went back to his house, Amrile, he asked the members of his household, Aisi Mar Ura, did you bring Tvua? And your das was to buy it. Omalahu Rabbi Yonah said, Amina. I said to myself, Holy Asa Mitra, since now it's raining, Hashta Ravach Alma. There'll be a Revach to the entire world. There'll be Sova La'olam. Shari Hatvua Asidim Loredes. Mishukach Amtin Ad Sheyered Hamachir V'Ekne Bezol. So there are two advantages of the Tekifei Eretz Yisrael vis-a-vis, if you compare them to the Hasidim in Bavel. The one, Rabbi Yonah did not reveal that he was going to daven for Geshavah, even to his own members of his household. In Bavel, they invited each other to make a public assembly out of it. And number two, as a result of the tefillah of Rabbi Yonah, Levada, alone, the Geshavim came. He didn't need to be mitzvah for anyone else. Whereas Rav Huna and Rav Chizda needed to be mispal together in order to get a response to that tefillah. Vesu, and furthermore, another story, Rabbi Moni, Ray, the son of Rabbi Yonah, Havi Komitzari Lei, the Bein Nesiya. There were people who were appointed by the king. They were in the employment of the Nasi, and they caused him anguish. And he prostrated himself on the kever of his father, Rabbi Yonah. Amalei, and Rabbi Moni says to his father, Abba, Hanaf Mitzarel. These people are causing me tzar. On one particular day, Cholfi Osam, those who were Memuna on the Nasi were passing with their horses, and they got to the Ma'ora, that Tvura, the place of Rabbi Yonah's burial, the Intuk Kora de Susvayu. And the feet of the Susim got stuck in the karka on top of this Ma'ora, and Rabbi Yonah would not let them move from there. Rabbi Yonah, who's buried, I did Kabbalah lay to look over Tzari, to they would Kabbalah themselves that they would not bring Tzad Rabbi Moni, his son. Vesu, another story, Rabbi Moni Abishchia Kamed Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Elyashiv. He was a regular student at the feet of Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Ben Elyashiv. Amalei. So Rabbi Mani says to Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Elyashiv, Asiri de Beichami Kametzarelu. The rich people of my father-in-law are lording it over me, and they're causing me tsar. And Rabbi Yitzchak responded, and he said, V'omar, li'anu, let them become poor. Li'anu, and they became poor. Then Rabbi Moni came back, V'omar, he tells Rabbi Yitzchak, Dachkuli, the people in the house of my father-in-law, who are now anir, are pressuring me that I should support them because they're so poor. So Rabbi Yitzchak responded, V'omar, V'liatre, let them become rich again. Liatre, and they became rich. Another story about Rabbi Moni, Omar. Rabbi Moni said to Rabbi Yitzchak ben Eliyahu, Lo mekavli alai inshi basi. My wife is not, I guess, not so attractive to me. I don't feel that chiba. Omar leis Rabbi Yitzchak ben Eliyahu says to Rabbi Moni, Mashmo, what's your wife's name? And I'll pray on her behalf. Rabbi Moni said, Chana, her name is Chana. And Rabbi Yitzchak turns to Hashem and he says, Tisyape Chana, let Chana be beautiful. And Tisyape became beautiful. After a while, Rabbi Moni comes back, Omer Le, as a result of her beauty, he tells Rabbi Yitzchak, Megadrol a lot. She's lording it over me. She's misgah. And she's being maknit because of her beauty. Omer Le, Ihachi, Tachsar Chana l'Shacharusa, let her go back to a dark state. She wasn't so beautiful. And Chazra Chana l'Shacharusa, and that's exactly what happened. Okay, then? So we'll take a pause over here now. And I wish you a great day. Thank you so much.